Merry, Merry Christmas. Don't change, kids, stay with us. Stay, oh little Jesus. Hold on to my hand. It's not a long way to fly, you know, and play deadly games with the...
Can you play with me?
Ho, ho, ho! Welcome to 12 days of movies with friends. It's Adriana Isabel, or is it Audrey Jingle Bell? And we now need a cake in order to celebrate the successful scalping of my victim. On Prancer! That is right.
A Bûche De Noël, Your Highness.
Thank
Your
you.
your Santa-ness.
So what Christmas movie with a friend are we discussing today?
Am I allowed to speak?
Yes, you are.
We are watching, and this is all thanks to you, Mrs. Claus? Mrs. Claus? No. We are, what is it even called anymore? It has 3 different names. Deadly Games.
And 36 15 Code Père Noël. 3615 Code Father Christmas.
Wow.
So it's also Hide and Freak. It did have like
A hide and
3.
freak. There's one that's called Game Over too. I saw Game Over, and there's like Dial Code for Santa Claus, or like Dial, yeah. It's the movie of many titles because this movie is too much for one title.
I think it's also just so quintessentially French.
Yes.
That you really can't bring its full splendor, you know, to English. So Game Over.
So yeah, sorry, we're not going to bring its full splendor.
Yeah. Il faut qu'on parle en français par ça.
Damn.
Sorry, y'all.
All right, that's the end of the.
That's it. We're done trying. But
We will try anyway, because that's what Christmas is all about. Being with your friends and eating sugar. And this is a Bûche de Noël, which is a traditional French dessert for Christmas. Although I think it has origins, pagan origins, or very old origins. Here we go. I'm going to bring it closer here. Dun, 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 dun.
So it is artfully shaped as a log.
Yes, exactly. The Yule log, of course. So its origins come from basically in the old days where you had the hearth, the fireplace, and that was the hearth is like the heart of the home. Ah, yes, much freer. I'm no longer prancing. Basically during this time of year, during winter, during like solstice, they put a log in the fire, and then they sort of gave different I was gonna say sacrifices, but no, they didn't put people in them. It was just sort of like gifts to the season, to the gods, or just to sort of I think gratitude. So like put some spices, pour some wine in there.
Probably smelled nice too.
I think it did. Yeah, I think it was sort of to give that. It evoked the season, that like those like a mulled wine. Basically, all the stuff that they put in the wine, they sort of just put on the fire,
Light it on fire.
And what do? You light it on fire, and I think the thing was it needed to like stay lit for like 3 days, and that would bring a happy new year or a good new year.
Oh,
so there's some superstition and a lot of pressure involved in that fire.
I was gonna say that's a French Tamagotchi right there. It's like you have to keep it going for 3 days, and there's wine involved.
I would fail that very quickly. I think I was okay at Tamagotchis, but like the fires I'm not great with. Like it's really hard to tend a fire for let alone like an hour, let alone 3 days.
Right.
So that's a lot of work, but I guess also it might be survival. Like you need that fire because there's no heater, right? So like maybe
don't mess this up.
That's a full-time job. And then I think eventually it got to the point where like it went to most houses didn't have hearths anymore. And then it was like, it'd be cooler if we just started to eat something that looked like a log rather than burn it, basically. And it took that leap, which is an interesting leap. I always wonder about how those leaps happened. Like who was the woman or man who was just like, you know what? I want a log cake.
I have an idea.
You have an idea?
For how to make
this
jelly roll look more sophisticated. Is it a jelly roll? I imagined it's rolled.
So yeah, it is rolled, and I think I will attempt to show that to camera. But this has raspberry mousse in it as the sort of the jelly. I looked it up, and that's like it's that or chocolate mousse is the option that Berolina Bakery. This is from Glendale, a stone's throw away from here, maybe. I don't want to give too much information because we might have a Santa visitor. Another one. She already killed one, but I can't. She doesn't live here, so I can't always have her to defend me.
That's true.
Yeah. I can't pay her enough, right?
Yes, my services are quite expensive.
In my friendship store, budget is very low. I think I've cashed in a lot of chips in the last couple months, and we just met really. So
I think you gained a few points though
by
daring to watch this film. This is not for the faint of heart.
Yes.
This is not for naive children. No.
No children. Do not message Santa on the internet. Ooh, this is 1989. French film René Mansour. Okay. Manzor.
There we go.
Yeah. It stars his son, who plays Thomas, the main kid, who's basically the Kevin McAllister, because the makers of this film sued the makers of Home Alone, which came out a year later.
Or at least threatened to. I thought they did, but Wikipedia says threatened.
Threatened. And I see why, and we'll get into why, but I also see why they didn't actually sue, because they're really tonally different movies. It's just kids fighting an intruder in their house on Christmas, which, yes.
With different traps and,
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of MacGyver in this movie. But before we go any further, let's get into the bouche.
Let's get into the
bouche. Let's do the bouche. You gotta cut from the side of the log. I'm gonna do a pretty. It's a squishy log. Ooh, but it's fresh.
It's a fresh
log. Oh no. Let's see if we can do it. See if we can survive. It's hard to survive.
Wow.
Did we do it?
I think you did it.
As I cut my finger. Oh, it's stuck to the knife. It is that moist. Look at that. It's not coming off.
I mean, that's gonna be some good frosting.
Yeah, that might have to be my piece. Let me use a fork. Yeah. Oh no, I if it's a lot of frosting, that's my life. I am a frosting man. How does it look in there? Ooh,
it's beautiful.
Okay, so this is gonna have even more frosting. So do you want me to take the other edge for you? Or do you want to take that one and I go nuts?
You go nuts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here, if you want, you can give me the extra frosting. I am a frosting fiend, as they say.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, look, the French don't mess around when it comes to cake and frosting.
They don't mess around in general, I feel like. They know what they're doing.
This also might be a good time to warn people that when watching the movie, the moment you see the Bûche De Noël, things are about to go wrong.
That's a good point. It is a fucking... It's the best scene in the whole movie. And the most disturbing, perhaps.
The most cutthroat, if you will.
Oh, the most cutthroat. I like that. Sorry, don't let that one fall on deaf ears. This is like my nightmare, by the way, like cutting things for people.
Oh no! Well,
no, I think I'm doing okay.
I think you're great.
I mean, it's sort of it's not like the Christmas like turkey or ham is a whole nother level. Like whenever that has to happen, I have to be the man of that because it's all apparently we have to do the gender roles still for that.
Bird to the ground.
I'm terrified of that day, but we don't have to worry about it. Let's have some cake.
Let's have some cake. Jaws.
Oh my God, that is some buttercream frosting chocolate.
Wow.
Let's see, get some of that raspberry mousse.
That is like such a nice frosting. It's delicious.
There's no second thoughts about ordering this. I was on the fence because it's, this serves 8 to 10 people and there's only 2 of us, but this is gonna be a long episode. Get ready. And I ordered it also because the Bûche De Noël has a special place in my heart because my family, every year for Christmas Eve, my Aunt Catherine, who is a Francophile, she speaks French fluently, she would order a Bûche De Noël from like a local bakery. And so I was, not seeing her this year, haven't seen her last year either for Christmas. And I was like, I miss the Bûche. And it's really hard to find like a good one. And I just luckily happened upon, Berlina Bakery, as you know from the gingerbread cookies episode, Rare Exports. And I saw this in the little glass display, made a mental note, and then, history.
Deadly Games made an indelible impression on you.
Look at you. You're the host after all. So Deadly Games, it is a disturbing film about a child. We get to see him, work out and really sweaty. It was sort of provocative and gross.
He definitely admires Rambo.
Prisoner of a people, wanna be a black angel.
Yes.
And I would be very surprised if he hasn't seen Die Hard. Did Die Hard come out in the 80s?
Yeah, I think it was 88. So he had just seen it and was like, well, this is gonna be it has some similarities to Die Hard too, actually. Yeah.
I was noticing how in a lot of the action sequences later on, he's barefoot.
Oh, that's true.
So like in Die Hard, there's also like an elevator shaft moment.
That's true. And there's walkie-talkies.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of technology.
He's 9 years old. His name is Thomas. He's a little genius.
This also reminded me of films that I saw growing up that were like Smart House and just anything that included a kind of prodigy child.
Yes.
Who also happened to have a wild amount of money at his disposal.
Yes. Well, because his mom owns a toy company, and this toy company is gearing up for a huge holiday party, and despite being like a billionaire, basically,
they have a huge house, which has been in the father's family. As with any movie with a child protagonist, the father is dead. I don't think we touch on how, but he's still coping, I think, with the loss.
And to me, that was why it read like, okay, he's hyper masculine and macho because his dad's gone, he has to make up for it.
Yeah.
And the movie at the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't know if I care about Rambo Kid. But then as we see through the relationship with his grandfather, he's really a sweet boy. He's a really sweet kid. He's very smart and very intelligent. Yes, he has like a war sounds cassette as he just prances around the house, but at the same time,
setting up booby traps.
But like, if you had all that stuff at your disposal, he's just making movies. He has a much better budget than Movies with Friends. I'll tell you what.
I gotta say, I think we need to rig a few things up if we're gonna compete
with what
he's got going on.
This is like mild games.
But as you were saying, despite having all this money, business people need to business on Christmas Eve.
Oh, it's the biggest day of the year, of course. It's like basically the Black Friday for your toy store. I mean, I think this is before Black Friday was like a thing.
Right.
And so yeah, she has to go to the department stores like Gimbals basically or something, and she has to be there even though she's the CEO of a company that she says like an exorbitant amount of money that they made, like millions of dollars in one day. When I was like, what? That to me was the most unbelievable thing in the movie of all of it. But then Lily pointed out, like, oh, maybe that just means company-wide, like maybe there's a bunch of different stores.
They did mention that there are several stores.
But I still, like, how do you get that figure so quickly? Especially in 1989. You know, I mean, they do have computers, and I don't know. But it's just, it was very impressive.
It's one of those things where there was definitely some, like, poetic license. Because, for example, when she walks into the boardroom, it's Christmas Eve.
Yes.
Just got into work, and she's essentially like, we need to hire street performers and more Santas. I want a Santa on every corner. And the script literally has a guy say, like, why didn't we start planning this a month ago? Like, that's a lot for today. And she's just like, my little boy believed in Santa Claus, you know,
exactly,
before today, and now we have to keep up the ruse.
Oh, by the way, that's such a great answer that she had for when, okay, so Tomas was sort of having questions about Santa at the breakfast table and like, hey mom, my friend says Santa isn't real, like he doesn't believe, and like, what's up with that? And her response is brilliant. So our parents, or I'm saying this for myself in the future, he was like, oh, well, your friend is actually just naughty. And if you don't believe in Santa, Santa doesn't come and give you the presents. Their parents do. And it was just like, that answer was so good that it actually, I think, led to Tomas being a little bit more abused later, honestly, because he was so, he never once doubted that the Santa that came into that house was the real Santa Claus. Not that maybe affected his actions.
No, but I would say as viewers,
yes,
there was definitely a point like 2/3 in where I remembered like, oh, he really thinks this is Santa. Like no bulb has gone off that that something is amiss. So there's that dramatic irony.
Ici t'es chez moi. Pas regretter d'être venu.
Right, and I guess we should say that the movie opens actually with children playing like snowball fights, and then a creepy man. We don't know where this guy comes from, but he tries to join the fight, and the kids smartly all ran away. They're like, he wasn't invited to the snowball fight.
You're not part of the gang.
Tricks are for kids, you know, and yes, that's at least in this scenario. Yeah, don't snowball fight with weird men, and so, but this is the guy that eventually he gets hired as a Santa at the store. That's how he gets his garb. And then he goes and finds that kid because there's this Santa message thing on the internet, but like you can communicate from
I was reading a little bit about this.
Oh, thank you.
So the Minitel was one of the like first versions of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So in France, you know, during the 80s, they set up these different like kind of like ports, so they were almost like the payphone version of it.
Yes.
So the vagrant is on like the payphone internet in a chat room.
And he's just in the public doing it, but yeah.
And he somehow gets on this system where kids can talk to Santa. So our boy genius is attempting to communicate with Santa, and the answers maybe get a little too personal, and maybe we realize Santa is a little weird.
Well, we of course know immediately, and even Tomas's friend is like, Pilou. He's like, no, this isn't Santa, or like, you know,
This is a board for, like, what if this is a board for perverts?
Yeah, he actually says that, and this is a pervert that he's talking to, and while Tomas is a boy genius who can basically do anything with like engineering, he's still a kid at heart in terms of like, oh, Christmas and Santa. And so he has a blind spot and it's Christmas. And this, like, just, yeah, he gives him the address basically, right? Or he gives him information.
Actually, they cut off.
We don't know exactly, yeah.
So luckily the child isn't the one who
gives that
out. But
oh, it happens, yes, at the
we're at the department store. He is working as Santa. His dreams are coming true as he has children come towards him, sit on his lap, gaze lovingly at his face, and then realize
J'aime pas ta tête.
I don't like your face.
And then what does he do? He socks the kid in the face. And I'm not gonna
No,
pretend to do that.
Do not sock my face. But it is shocking in the moment.
It was really shocking.
And
also I love the girl saying, I don't like your face. And he was very upset by that.
Yeah, but she saw that something was not okay with this adult. And that gets him rightfully fired.
Yeah, because the woman sees
the
this.
child.
Yes.
So Tomas's mother sees this, fires him on the spot, and as he is going to the employment office to collect his payment and leave,
Yeah, like return the suit too, probably.
he overhears that there's a delivery to the boss's house for her little boy. And so he steals away on a delivery truck.
Yeah.
And
Jingle bells dancing, like sugar plums dancing in his head.
And soon after, we see the first death in the movie as he seemingly chokes out the delivery person.
And then he kills the caretakers pretty quickly. We don't really see that.
We don't see that. Yeah, but he must have done it before, because then he patiently waits. And he comes down the chimney. So, he was actually going to commit to the bit.
Oh yeah, well he was playing Santa. He was Santa, and I think it was like he was getting off on it in some way. And we talked beforehand of like, okay, is this guy a pedophile, or is he? Or is he just like trying to be a kid, or like sort of like? I mean, it could be both, right? But like, he's a confused
individual for sure.
And that's what makes this movie really uncomfortable, especially as this kid is really young, and it's the son of the filmmaker.
Yes, it's the director's son, and the child in the movie is supposed to be 9, so we are talking fairly young. And I guess I would just add to that leave it to the French to take a Christmas film and make it about like the inevitable loss of innocence. It's like you can't shelter your kids from whether or not Santa is real, and you can't shelter them from like the dangerous weirdos. But then as we're kind of forcing this kid to grow up, the scary man is an older man who's still a kid, or thinks he's still a kid.
Like he maybe lost his childhood prematurely, right? Like he didn't have one. I mean, a vagrant, like he's probably had a really tough life. He might have been in the system, or quote unquote the system. I don't know, like whatever different horrible things. Like I'm sure Tomas has daddy issues. I'm sure this guy has all of the issues, right? And that's why now he has to fill. He never got to be a kid. It's almost like the Michael Jackson thing of like, and I think it's similar. And so he is and what is the most kid-like time of year? It's Christmas. And he is just lonely. Like he wants to play snowballs. And you can even take that at face value. Maybe he actually has no interest in diddling these children. Yeah. Which I think I've said diddle multiple times on this Christmas movies season, so I apologize.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, it just goes to show like
Christmas is fucked up.
These things are so loaded, and we like kids in danger is stressful, and this movie lets that child be in danger.
Yes. But thankfully, and I think like as I was wondering about this at a certain point, like it sets up how intelligent and awesome he is about making stuff, and in a way the movie would be even more scary if it didn't. But then I was like, if he was he's a kid, and he needs to be competent. We need to have some safety, I think, to even be able to watch it. It's not like Home Alone because, well, A, he has all that powers anyway, but we weren't like privy to it. He just sort of has it.
Yeah.
But they aren't trying to molest or kill Kevin until maybe the end, like they actually want to kill this kid, but like in a just we're really angry, fuck this, like in a cartoon way. But this is not a cartoon. This is very much.
Remind me, in Home Alone,
Yes.
is it a break-in to steal
Yes.
something? Yeah. So in this movie, the motive isn't. It's not a burglary,
No, it's to be with the kid.
right?
And that's why that you need him to. We need to know that he has toys at his disposal.
To the other side.
It is sort of stomach crawling in some ways.
And it's also fun.
Oh, yeah.
I think the tone of the movie is not what we expect, but there's definitely like references to like Suspiria with like some of the colors and like the angles, and they pull into a lot of, you know, horror tropes,
Yes.
you know, of like the killer. So it's an interesting movie visually.
Oh yeah, and no, this is really. I think it's really good filmmaking. And you mentioned that the house is a miniature, and they have fun with that. And like I mean, the great scene is that when he comes in through the chimney, it's that, you know, the rose-colored glasses that a kid sees when Santa arrives. This is like Tomas's dream. He's like, oh, because he messaged Santa. Santa's coming. Oh my God, he's hiding and he's like giggling.
He's gonna get to see.
Yeah, he sees the boots. I think they're red in this, which is interesting, rather than black. But I think that might just be the French version, or maybe red blood. You know, who knows? Or it's an imposter, right? But like he comes, and then JR, the dog, which I think is a very perfect name for it for a second. Then well, what happens after that? That's when we see the cake. Well, Santa sees the cake.
JR is a good boy, and he recognizes that this is an intruder and that he shouldn't be there. So Santa stabs him in the throat with
A cake knife.
A cake knife. So
Multiple
this
times.
movie wastes no time in showing that this is not a good person. Santa is not a good man.
Oh no! But there's also the tone is that like there's like a joke after where it's like Santa killed JR, which is a reference to Dallas, right? Like Dallas, who shot JR? Like I'm pretty 100% sure that's why the dog's name is JR.
Really?
At least I mean it read to me like.
Dallas? Is this a TV show?
Dallas is a soap opera. Yeah, like an American soap opera. And JR, like who shot JR was the mystery of the show. So
Dang.
like who shot JR? Santa stabbed JR the dog.
And this is also a bloody stabbing. So like again, if you're someone who doesn't like to see animals suffer, maybe when you see the log, just close your eyes for a little bit.
But JR is fine. There was no harm to animals in the making of this film.
Correct.
But yeah, it's a hard watch. But like that, you texted me like when that happened, all bets are off, right? Like anything could happen in this movie.
Right. If Santa can kill the family dog, I think it's fair to say that we're just gonna do whatever we want. So the movie goes there. We have secret passages.
Yes.
We have security system. We have security cameras with like a little handheld device where he can see.
This kid's a genius. He has security cams. This is early internet stuff, and it felt like the filmmaker knew what he was doing too. Because like it doesn't. I think it's aged pretty well on all those things. Like it didn't feel like. I mean, sure, it's like you're looking at old school technology, but honestly, I couldn't do a single thing that this kid does in this movie now. And it's way easier for me to do it, right? And it's like, this kid was a genius, and I think the filmmaker really saw where the technology was going. So it ages really well from that point of view. But yeah, the secret passageways are great. Like there's like a bat cave.
Par où est-il entré?
In a Narnia kind of way, it's through the armoire in the boys' bedroom, and it seems to connect to like the basement.
The fridge, it comes out of a fridge, I thought.
There's a fridge in the basement. That's what it is.
Right, it reminds me of like Meow Wolf or like an escape room or something. Like having been to a Meow Wolf, like I did enter a fridge and you go into another fucking world. So it was like, and this obviously is 20 years before Meow Wolf. Like but like it is like experiential art. It'd be a great escape room or a great like Halloween Horror Nights thing.
Especially because the secret passage is huge.
Yeah.
And you should know the boy's grandfather, so the mom's father.
Yes.
He didn't know this existed. And the boy's just very casually like, yeah, this is a secret passage. Mom doesn't know about it either. Dad showed it to me. And here is every toy Dad ever got, and his father's gifts, and his father's father's gifts. So it's just full of these like creepy dolls and other extravagant toys.
Oh yeah, it's
a death trap.
It's a funhouse death trap, yes. And I think we could have used the setting there, I think, a lot more, maybe. But I bet you they just probably budget. But also, it just sort of was this like kind of Goonies thing. It was so cool.
There was even like kind of like a rope bridge kind of.
There was a rope bridge. This could have been, the whole movie could have been the kid being haunted by the toys of his past, or like the fathers, the grandfathers coming to life, or like what is that about? Like whatever your dads have like given to you, like, you know, whether it's toxicity or abuse or just, I don't know, just, or like they're gone and then these toys are the relics and you're haunted by that.
This is what you have left of them.
Yes, that's why he's playing with them. And this is his, but it could, like, they didn't go there because I don't think that was the movie. It was more about Santa, you know, dirty Santa here.
I think also when he mentions that, so he mentions this to his grandfather, who he essentially has to take care of because, you know, there's an intruder in the house. So he also has to grow up kind of fast in that way.
Yeah, because his grandfather is really old and blind, basically.
And diabetic.
And the movie uses all that really well.
Right. So that's part of the stakes, right? Is him having to save grandpa. But I think that's also when the child says, like, can you imagine Santa bringing all these presents to our house over the years? And I think that was the moment where the grandpa kind of went like, shoot.
Yeah.
He still believes this is Santa.
Yeah.
Goo.
But it was like, now let's preserve that magic. But like, so is the movie saying, well, because you were talking about it earlier too, like, is the mom lying to her kid? Is that somehow the problem? Because it starts with this quote from Bruno Bettelheim, which I wish I will put below. But it was, to me, that was some like the theme, that like it's about kids retaining magic, and that seems like to be an important thing, and we want to keep them that magic. But then the fact that the mom is lying also seems to be kind of the problem, right? The fact that this kid, but it isn't. That's not like he survives and he's a badass. So it's not like.
I mean, but he's shell-shocked. Like, he's really traumatized at the end.
Well, I mean, we get to see his trauma in a Bonnie Tyler
montage.
Yes.
Merry, Merry Christmas. Don't change, kids, stay with us. Stay a little, Jesus. Hold on to my hand.
Oh man, do we want to sing the lyrics?
You know, it might be time. I just want to point out, I don't know the history of this song, but it really feels like something that the writers, I think his brothers, the director's brothers, also produced and made the music.
Oh, it's a family film.
So it is a family affair. But it really does sound like they wrote this song and they were like, Bonnie Tyler's our person.
And Bonnie Tyler, she came to the fucking park and knocked it straight out.
So recognizable too. The moment I heard her, I was like, hold up.
Yeah, and I mean, 80s, this is when she was at her peak, right? Total Eclipse of the Heart was, I mean, I don't know when, but around this time. let's see if we can do Bonnie Tyler justice, just to like get a little grasp of the lyrics here. I mean, I will intercut with the montage, and maybe we'll just let Bonnie do it. But like, we want to do Bonnie too. That's what Christmas is all about.
We also want to have an excuse to read the lyrics because it really does wash over you and catch you off guard. Merry, Merry Christmas. Don't change, kids. Stay with us. Stay a little, Jesus. Hold on to my hand. It's not a long way to fly, you know. Don't fly in vain. It's so hard anyway to become a man. Happy birthday, Christmas.
Happy birthday, Christmas.
Welcome, holy Jesus. Although you reign on earth, who can understand why even a child learning the truth always learns pain? Why does he have to cry to become a man? Help me, Santa Claus.
Help me, Santa Claus.
Come close to my heart.
Come close to my heart. All my doors are closed.
All my doors are closed. I can't play my part. I can't play my part. Wanted, Mr. Xmas.
It's Mr. Xmas.
Mr. Xmas.
Wanted Mr. Xmas.
Reward, little Jesus.
Reward, little Jesus.
Kids don't grow up like us. You could change the plan. Here comes the darkness.
Time to be sad. Here comes the rain. Please don't leave them hopeless.
To become a man. To become a man. To become a man.
Become one man.
What?
I mean, I feel like if we're asking for the thesis of the film, there it is. It's like, wow, growing up is traumatizing.
It really is. Like learning that Santa isn't real is like this huge moment. I mean, a lot of kids are lucky. That's a privileged kid who, and that's I'm speaking for myself too. Like where that is this moment of like, oh shit. I never took it as like, oh, parents lie, but it's like, oh, man, it's not real.
I feel kind of dumb.
Yeah, you feel dumb, but you're also like, oh, the world, I can't take it at face value, maybe.
Oh,
Or magic isn't real, and that's fucking the saddest thing. But I think both of us, I'm gonna say, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, we spend our lives as artists or as whatever we want to do, trying to get back to that magic, trying to believe again.
Right.
I mean, that's what Peter Pan's about. That's
to
what
have wonder. I think they
Yes.
use that word in the movie too, that it's about wonder and awe, you know, because I think that's a comfort.
I think the movie is saying like how heartbreaking that is, but it's also saying that you can take advantage of children that do believe in a way. Like, so it's sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Like this guy, but it's also the fact that he is so determined, or like that maybe that it is Santa is actually what like turns him into, like he unleashes his full arsenal against Santa. I don't know. Like,
Ooh.
I don't know. Like if he knew that Santa wasn't Santa and just a creepy man, would it change the outcome?
That's a great question, because the film definitely ends with him thinking, I saw Santa and I unleashed this, I made him angry or made him bad.
Yeah, he thought it was his fault, And also that he let him in, or like he knew that he gave the information or whatever, enough information because he did the thing. And then also his grandfather ultimately, somehow, I thought he was gonna like kill the kid instead. The grandpa shoots and kills Santa in front of him.
It's so hard anyway to become a man.
And it's just a very evocative thing of like, oh yeah, the older generation killing Santa right in front of the kid, which is the thesis of the whole movie. But
Well done.
but
I
it's
didn't catch that one.
but it's also just like, oh shit, he just saw a murder. It doesn't matter if it's Santa or not. He almost was murdered himself. He was almost maybe worse.
Yeah.
I don't.
He just gets stabbed in the leg.
Yes. He
Like,
does.
Again, if you're not one for child endangerment, this isn't for you. There's gunpowder, and he does see Santa get shot while Santa's like wrestling the kid. So like things are not going great.
Not going well.
But there's also just a lot of dead bodies because the groundskeepers are dead. Police officer appears dead at one point.
And what are toys but dead bodies?
Woof. Dang.
That was the right response.
Woof. Sorry.
No, I love that.
It just got me that at one point, the child and the grandpa are like debating whether there's evidence of Santa. And the grandparent mentions like dinosaur fossils, I think.
Oh,
like
yes.
That. And then the kid's like, but we haven't found Santa's bones. And the grandpa's like, well, Santa's not dead yet.
That's well, I mean, that was when he was playing along, right? Like he was like, oh yeah, that's why, yeah.
Yeah.
But
now Santa does have bones.
yeah, and they are in his living room. Oof. Deadly.
Yeah.
They are deadly. The games we play with children, the games we have, just of life in general, and growing up is a deadly fucking game. I guess is that what we're left to ponder? With like that sugar isn't enough.
Dang. I mean, I've said dang a few times. This movie is just it really goes there. Where, like you said, is there a point to kind of preserving the innocence of children? Are we endangering them by keeping them naive?
But it's all. I think it's like a double-edged sword. I think there isn't an answer, which I think is what a great movie points out. And like, I think this is a great movie. I like it's a hard watch, I think, but like you said, it was a dare. Like these are the movies that I fucking long for. So I was so excited that I hadn't seen this before, and it was just so up my alley. Yeah, like a dark, twisted Home Alone French film that is really good cinematically and asking some questions and doing it in ways that would never get made in America or nowadays. But like, it's kind of a shame. I know there's some things where you're like, I don't know if that's appropriate, like seeing the kid work out and like sweaty, shirtless 9-year-old. But it's also, I mean, it also is like there's a commentary there of like the filmmaker, the father and his son. He is sort of not necessarily subjecting his kid to, because I'm sure the kid is all about this, because a kid just gets to play and be make believe. But I don't know. There's a lot of hard things being a child star, right?
Kind of making him that Rambo persona again, because I think the kid idealizes that, and I think later on in the movie when he's freezing his butt off on a ledge barefoot, several stories high, I think that's kind of when I realized like, oh, like he's having to actually do the hero stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's really not fun.
No.
And it's actually just really scary.
That's a good point, because I think, yeah, even Die Hard, yes, it's sort of idealizes what John McClane is doing, but in here it's like, this kid's like, this, I don't want to be the hero. It's like, it's responsibility. Grandpa's life is in his hands.
Yes.
And that's not fair to a 9-year-old kid. It's not fair to anyone, but it's especially not fair to Thomas. And then you can also, you mentioned the business, like, oh, mom has to go business on Christmas Eve and is leaving her kid. Like, that's not a good look for mom either. No. And I mean, she does care, like, she saves a girl from creepy Santa, but she doesn't walk the Santa back. Like, that guy should go to jail or, like, be escorted off the premises, not, bye. There's so many other children, like, she just sends him away, and it's like, this is his playground. What are you doing, Mom? And Mom, I think in the same way, probably hasn't been the same since Dad died and has gone full on into business, right?
And is actually dating her assistant.
Oh yeah, Roland? Yes.
Yeah, we don't know
he
how
sucks.
long that's been going on. He's fine. He's milquetoast.
He is milquetoast. He does do the things that she says, but like my favorite part is when the mom like is driving frantically. She gets into a car accident. That's not my favorite part. But she survives. Roland finds her, and she's like, "Have you heard from Tomas? Have you heard from Tomas?" And he just, will you help me? And he just ignores her, and he's just like, "I'm gonna get you out of here." And he's like, clearly doesn't give a shit about the kid, or isn't even responding to what she's saying. Yes, he saves her and gets her out of the car and drives her to the house. But it just felt like they have two different motivations. He really just this is the person that he's screwing, and also sure, he cares about her somewhat, probably.
Sure.
But it's
also
just like
his boss.
Yeah, also it's like a very weird thing. This movie has so much stuff going on.
It does. Are you only now realizing, wait, because the grandpa is a whole.
Ooh, what do you have to
other
say about the
bucket.
grandpa?
Gosh,
He's a sweetheart.
he is so sweet. But like you said, they set up things where he can't see well. He's diabetic, so there's a lot of stresses that come up regarding that.
Yeah, if you think it's hard to see this video, just wait until you see Grandpa's POV.
Yeah, that's right. the pixelation.
Oh god, so much pixelation. Well, it's interesting because the beginning of the movie, the kid actually sort of tortures Grandpa and the dog in some way, but it's a kid.
He's role playing that they're prisoners.
Yeah, but then he's role playing it, but then it becomes true.
Right.
Or is he even playing? Is that the thing? The movie, we're all sort of prison of whatever
system we're in,
or just I guess that family structure. I don't think the kid is having the best life, honestly, until this happens. This guy has every toy he could ever imagine, but also I think the movie shows that's sort of empty, right? It's a haunted house that he's in. There's a fucking haunted attic or basement.
Haunted basement of things.
This movie is somehow more believable than Home Alone. I think it kind of is in a weird, in a way that says something about our world. I feel like this could happen more easily, or maybe not. I don't know. But
Right, because there is a series of events that had to unfold in a specific order.
Right, especially in this one too, in both. I think that's sort of the thing, but the idea is they could both technically happen.
Right.
And I think the last thing I wanted to sort of get into before we finish this off camera, at least I'm going to have all this cake, is that I feel like there's also sort of the satire of the American blockbuster a little bit in here, because of course we're referencing Rambo and Die Hard, and even Bonnie Tyler, using her, very American, it's like an 80s montage action movie, but then we're using it when the kid's sobbing and remembering his dead dog and digging a grave. It's so pointing out the not necessarily hypocrisy, but just how maybe ridiculous American movies are, but also how great. He clearly has a sort of love-hate relationship to it, and I think in the same way that he has a love-hate relationship to his childhood or Santa and Christmas in general. It's just complicated. But there's definitely so much in there, I think, about capitalism too, and just American movie making.
Totally. And it's a movie that both manages to kind of be popcorn eating, oh my God, Santa's approaching the car with a pipe, what? But then at the same time, it's let's have a conversation about innocence. Let's have a conversation about what is wrong with this vagrant, and now this passageway of toys, there's just something very over the top and poetic about it, and
oh yeah,
and I like that it goes there,
It goes there. It isn't afraid to go there, and I think, but it also, it's also fun, which is a really weird thing to say, like you said about all the stuff we're talking about, but it doesn't ever, it's hard to watch sometimes maybe, but I still feel cared for, from the filmmaker.
I feel like I can watch it as an adult. I wouldn't want kids to watch it just because it's it's just a little too grim. But I feel like for an adult, it's a fun watch.
I guess I mean,
Teenagers
if a
can
kid's
handle
gonna
this.
like, yeah, teenagers, it's definitely a great teenager movie or like a sleepover movie when you're like the kind of like, ooh, what are we gonna watch? Like it has that vibe. And I would have loved to like watch this at a sleepover with like a couple like friends when I was, 14. I think that would have been like, whoa, and it would have been even like sort of cooler. I think most of the themes would have probably gone over my head, but like the movie works on multiple levels.
Yes, and I think that's what I was kind of going for,
Yes.
which is that it can just be a very kind of funny, slashery,
Yes.
great. The Santa Claus design is great. Like he doesn't have a hat this time, and I
Oh, a
feel
hood. Yeah.
yeah, he has this like creepy hood. It works really well for like the deranged bearded stranger.
Oh yeah, a hood. I mean, a hood sort of feels more like a criminal in a way. Although, a stocking cap or the hat has sort of also, if you pull it over, that's like what criminals
Oh,
wear,
God.
in a way. So they sort of both have these weird origins, and of course, like you're breaking into the chimney, like you're transgressing boundaries. But yeah, like thank you for transgressing boundaries with me or showing me where to go.
Absolutely.
And yeah, Adriana, thank you for hosting.
Absolutely. And folks, keep an eye out for the frame where you see both Peter Pan and something that looks like a hooded Santa or Krampus or something. So there's just little things like that layered into the movie where I can see that the filmmaker really cared. So thank you for caring enough to watch it.
Oh, this is what I care about you in this movie. Those are the things I care about, really.
I care about you. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. And as always, I'm doing this in conjunction with the LA Mission, local LA fundraiser, or nonprofit, dedicated to helping homelessness and giving food, drink, shelter, and Christmas spirit to those who need it. I don't think there's, we all need that. We all need help. So please, if you can, there's more information below. Thank you for being with us. I will see you at the next turn of the snowflake, at the next opening of the Advent calendar for day 10, A Muppet Christmas Carol. I'll see you
I love
then.
a Muppet Christmas Carol.
I think we all do!
Yeah!
Yay, Disney Plus. Although I don't feel like that. That seems like I'm
Sponsor us.
Yeah, that seems like too happy to say Disney Plus. But anyway, Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas. Oh.
Oh.